Knowledge of self. What's your earliest experience with knowledge of self?
Early experience with knowledge of self, as it were, would be pulling up to Lamert, to the ciphers. I would have to give you the precursor, which would be my brother and I's, I want to say late middle school, high school, spiritual explorations or just perspectives. You know, there was a point, Pure's mother will go to church, and to the point where if I was, we're kids at this time. So if I'm sleeping over there, I'm going to church on Sunday with them. You know what I'm saying? And I also came up, my elementary was Frederick K.C. Price, the third school, which was also the home of the Crenshaw Christian Center. So I was raised around that, but I never viewed, there were parts of it that just didn't connect, right? I viewed it more so as what a lot of people say about other stuff now is a system of morality, right? I viewed it as that. We did awards in our yearbook. People be, most likely to this, most likely to this. I had gotten most Christ-like. I thought that was dope. Right? And but I walked with it like that, not as if it was an exterior thing, that patience and kindness were all virtues I wanted to exemplify, and that this person in the story was a person you could be like. That's how I viewed it, though. Like, we needed to try and emulate that, the whole, the ties, the church, the prayer. I understand why people would go and commune like that. Now that makes a lot of sense as an adult, especially to me. But the different, there's just a lot of superfluous parts of it. Superfluous. I'm not even saying that word right. But there was just a lot of extras on it, and to me, it was just about where a person can get right within themselves, right? So fast forward in learning about other religions and learning about stuff like the NOI, knowing my father was in the FOI, but not currently active when I'm going through this stuff. And even knowing my family was from Jamaica, you know what I'm saying? My great grandfather, he was first generation in the Americas, but his father had come from Jamaica when it was still under British rule. So just learning that their shit was Rastafari, you know what I'm saying? Like, my mom had a Rastafari book. So I'm reading all of these things, all of these ways of being and spiritual practices, but nothing grabbed me as far as practice. They had their practical applications, but it wasn't something that I felt like I could practice. So I'm gonna spare you some of the funny stories of how we used to walk around like the South Bay Galleria and shit like that. But it was a point where Pure was listening to Wu-Tang, and he's like, I'm trying to figure out what they're talking about. They're referring to, that's how a lot of people got it. But his thing was like, what they're referring to gods and all these things that they're talking about. And so he set out to figure it out. And he found the Love of Law cipher, and this was in Wisdom Cipher Knowledge, you know what I'm saying? It must have been, might have been Knowledge Cipher, actually. Yeah, it was 2010, 2011. We were in 11th grade. So yeah. And yeah, I mean, and that's where I began coming around. Again, we were at the same point mentally of trying to find a practice that set us on the right path mentally and so-called spiritually, right? Or just having the right frame of mind and perspective on the world. And that seemed to fit. And we go and we hear the conviction and the knowledge and how people are able to speak eloquently. And, I was no stranger to Black people being able to talk well, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you want to be around people that break that stereotype. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't identify with that. So I was more attracted to yeah, this is the exact opposite of what they talking about over here. Like, I'm about to go. I don't want to hear somebody say, oh my goodness, you're so well smart. That's a known fact. Again, we went to a FUBU middle school. So this was not, educated black men was not a foreign concept, you know? But then you had the I don't want to say the streetness to it, because that can lead to the negative connotation. These were just people that weren't, it was raw, but there was a range, right? There was corporate to the street. You know what I'm saying? And everybody brought that. You had people that were in the military, you know, you had people that had done all different sorts of things, met lawyers later, you know what I'm saying? Barbers. And I'm sure there's more that I'm not remembering, you know, but we had a very diverse cipher that I came around. And I remember one thing that really got me though was Freedom of Law, like building on the Christmas tree. We was in the middle of the, I don't know if you remember, but the way he broke that down, I was like, I'm just trying to have that wherewithal, have that awareness, you know? So I know I went all over the place, but that was my first experience, was really, yeah.
Okay, so, you know, you were young when you got it, right? You were in your teens, right?
Yeah, knowledge equality, knowledge God, probably got a little more serious around knowledge God, yeah.
Okay.
They have to preface this with saying I went crazy in my teens also. You know, I also interpreted this not as magic, but I became so, would foolhardy be the right word? I became so toxically optimistic that I just thought anything was possible. So at one point I just dropped everything and left, because I had it in my heart that I could build anything from wherever I went, you know, without doing the knowledge first. So that's one thing that I got that stuck with me later and came later, but probably the anchor is doing the knowledge first. Knowledge before the wisdom. You know, easier to apply when in a group of people and watching and observing and not speaking. But how about when you do your own thing? You know what I'm saying? Like thinking before acting, you know, really thinking things through. You know, it's not something, as a passionate person, it wasn't something, and I feel like meticulous, strategic to a degree, but there's always that point where I'm like all out, you know, fuck it. You know, like part of my language, I don't know if you're gonna, you know. Yeah.
All right. Obviously this bill, we go on for hours.
I know.
So I have a ton of questions, but I want to narrow it down to some specific questions.
Yes, sir.
So our culture, historically, when we hear the knowledge to the history, if it wasn't for the teenagers early on, this wouldn't have flourished the way it did, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, you know, this was for the youth initially, right?
Mm-hmm.
In these days and times, we tend to see more older brothers around, older sisters around, right? Maybe not as many youth. From your perspective, what do you think we could do as a culture, as a nation, to make this more attractive to you, or get more young people to come around?
To make it more, we have to fulfill a need, right? And that's I'm sure other people have said that. There's no novelty. It's not a novel idea. But we have to genuinely be interested in where the youth are at this day and time. And you can't reach everybody, but there is still this, you know, it's like what defines a generation. There's an unseen mentality that's embedded in them, right? They're a different generation. They've come up with different things. They have a different set of concerns, different set of problems, different set of emotional and articulation systems, right? So some stuff may seem foreign when we come with, though we have age on our side and wisdom because of that, they ain't talking like that. Like in my era, I can only speak for myself, right? But what it was we came for the knowledge, right? So the way that people take in knowledge now is very different. So let's ponder on this for a second, right? Because hearing people build and what they had to share made me want to go pick up a book, right? It made me want to read at the time. Now microwave generation. Everything's in the palm of your hand, but we just said it's an aggregated device and system, so it's just pulling from a bunch of stuff. It doesn't necessarily make what you get the truth, or the right answer.
So do we as a 5%? So this is what I like to say, right? In Allah's time, the youth were in the streets.
Okay.
So of
Right.
course, that's where Allah went to teach them.
Right.
Of course, there's people still in the streets these days, but more so than the streets, people are in their phones.
Yes.
So I think we have to somehow be a force, not necessarily fully online, but we have to have some type of system where we're reaching people
Yes.
through where they're at, which is their phone.
Which is their phone. Would you view what you're doing as the arm of that? Right. It's doing interviews and putting it up in full display on the internet. The thing is, well, yeah, there's no thing. That's correct. The question becomes how to get ahead of the ever-changing language and trends, right? To a way because it has to be palatable. It has to be in season. And I think you're doing that, you know what I'm saying? But I'm still on the, let's ponder that for a second, right? It's like, how do you make it palatable, right? Because like, I just have to think about where I was, and, you know, we had rap artists like Born Allah in our cipher, you know what I'm saying? So he had a certain aesthetic and way that he built when we were outside, you know? So it's like, would it take, because he's like, you don't want to talk like them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But how do you make it palatable? I don't know, man. You got me giving something like low key stuff.
Well,
I gotta think on that more. Yeah.
you know, at the end of the day, it's about the youth.
It is.
You say the babies are the greatest.
Yes, sir.
So we gotta figure out a way to make this more about them.
Yeah.
Bring the next generation of young people into the fold, you know, so that it can continue.
It's got to.
A lot of elders are returned to the essence
Yes.
every day, and you know, things are changing fast. So
Yeah.
you know, it's something I think about. Last question.
Yes. Another thing before you. It's in the framing though. It's in the framing of what we're providing, right? Because a lot of people view this era as a post-truth era, meaning like, not that this is correct, but meaning that people see it as, well, that's everybody got their own truth, right? So there's no objective, right? It's like, that's your truth, that's their truth. So it's harder to grasp them, because in one way, everyone's so open that they're just like, whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are accepting,
Right.
but how do you pull them to say this is the way versus that's the way?
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. So I think about that from time to time.
Yeah, and it's the overstimulation too of information. Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Disinformation, misinformation. Yeah.
It's all just flooding them.
Yeah. We wanted this. You know, not the good equality, the bad equality. We wanted this. This is what came along. We got it. Oh shit, the internet. Oh shit, the World Wide Web. We're all connected.
Right.
And then you have the flip side of it, which is like, that also breeds the misinformation age. You get the information age, and you get, so that's what we're in the thick of right now. Because there's no filter, freedom of speech there's no filter. You know what I'm saying? You have to have that faculty in your mind to filter it, you know? And that's all we want to give to people though, right? Is that the faculty to filter through that which is correct and that which is incorrect, you know? To not believe in what the 10% is putting out, you know? But that just came to me, pardon so, yeah.
Okay, so last question. As a younger brother, right?
Yeah.
What can you tell the elders about maybe how they, I don't want to say handle things, but what advice can you give the elders on how to handle younger brothers?
Yeah.
As well as, what do you think the elders can do better to maybe be open to embracing what the youth see in their understanding of life and nature?
Yes, very good. Brothers just gotta listen. Brothers gotta take it back to doing the knowledge and not being so quick to formulate an opinion, because that's what happens to us as we grow. That's what's happening to me now, and I'm attempting to not let that crystallize. And I will say also, I was fortunate that that's not my full experience. I have a lot of older brothers that were able to meet me where I was at as someone who was already different in my own age and peer group. You know what I'm saying? So, but those brothers listened. They took the time with me. They didn't write me off. You know, they knew, again, what needed to be put in place so that not only I understood this culture as a brotherhood, but that I understood myself and saw myself as God, right? And how to maneuver through the world like that. Brothers gotta listen. We're not gonna know how to meet the next generation where they're at unless we're paying attention, doing the knowledge. Like you said, it is all on the internet. You know, what's going on the internet and how can we, you know, make sure that we're at the forefront of that, you know? But yeah, brothers gotta listen. That's it. Older brothers gotta listen. And shout out to all the older brothers that I had that did listen, you know, because I had a few that really, you know, poured into me. They did the knowledge. Yeah, they saw where I was at. They saw what my interests were. They'd test me. You know, don't get me wrong. That you're not gonna grow unless you get that pressure, you know, but they knew exactly where and when, you know, what was needed, what was, again, the unnecessary parts, where to recommend it and not be so rigid. See, that's the thing. Like, we get so into being the one, we forget the two, which is fluidity, you know, and not on no funny shit. It's just being able to not be so rigid. You know, this is not going to work for everybody. So I have to change my approach. Swift and changeables in our, you know what I'm saying, in our curriculum. So some people got it, some people don't though, you know, but that's what a lot of older brothers need to understand that, see, I don't even know if I finished that thought. As we get older, because we do have that wisdom, we do take certain things on face value, and it's either I'm God, so I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to have a hard time with that. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm not gonna have a hard time with that, which is true, you know. But that's more as I've gotten older. That's a person-to-person thing. You should always have something for the youth. You should always take your time with the youth. The youth are not set in their ways yet. They are not yet savage, right? So you take your time with them, and we'll be able to then bridge that gap.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's peace.
Yeah.
This is part one.
This is part one.
Yeah, we're just scratching the surface, but I do appreciate the build and taking the time. And till next time.
Till next time. Peace.